Tell me a bit about your story and to get on to the Montreal Canadiens and not be drafted. It's a pretty crazy. I mean, how do you look back at all that? It's like, what's the chance? Like, how many people does that happen to? Not that many. Tell me how you feel about all that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely doesn't happen to too many people. I mean, it's a pretty crazy story, and for me, I don't really look too much into it. I just think of it as I'm a normal guy who just had to find a different way to make it where I wanted to make it. So I don't really look at it too much, but yeah, it's a pretty special story. Yeah, my dad came here with maybe $2 in his pocket and started a life, created a family. Like he's got everything he's wanted. He's worked hard for everything he's got. So I think us as kids, seeing our parents where they came from, and they always reminded us where they came from and how their life was back home. So it's truly special to think that we're fortunate enough to get what we have today and go from there.
Is it partly your attitude that you're able to deal with this kind of adversity?
I think so. I mean, I think a lot of guys who don't get drafted or maybe looked over in the draft, they have a tough time keep going and keep chasing their dreams. I mean, they think they're done. They think it's over. But for me, I didn't focus too much about the drafts. I mean, obviously not being drafted to the OHL, it was like, it's just so your name's on a list. I mean, there's always other ways you can get there, and I think a lot of guys have done that. So that's the stories I've really followed.
Is it also partly the Hamilton background? Because the city has a reputation of being a kind of no-nonsense place, you know? Is that part of it too, growing up there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough city. I mean, I love everything about the Hamilton, and obviously because I'm from there, but it's definitely a tough city, and you don't mess with guys from Hamilton, that's for sure.
Apparently you don't mess with you either.
Yeah, I guess not.
Tell me about that. I mean, how, that part of the game, and I mean, you talk to people who have that role. It's a tough job. Do you find it's a tough job? Like do you get nervous? How do you approach that? And do you think that's a tough part of being a hockey player who's also got to be someone who might have to lay down the law?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a tough job. I mean, you're fighting in front of 22,000 fans and whoever else is watching on TV. So it's a lot of people that you're doing that in front of. And I mean, for me, I don't get too nervous. I mean, it's part of my game, and it's how I play. So I think it's just for other players not understanding what I go through and how, because they never had to go through it. It's that part I think is a little more tough than actually doing it. I'm not a goon. I'm a hockey player first, and I think that's where people get confused because they think I'm only there to hit guys and fight guys, but I think I can play the game. I mean, I have pretty good offensive upside, so I think a lot of guys look past that and just think I'm a goon. But I think for me, I'm a player first, and I think that's the reason I made this team.
Speaking of family, tell me about how you feel about the fact your brother got drafted by the same team.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was like the icing on top of the cake for us. I mean, obviously when I made it was special, but then when he made it, it was like, it's unbelievable. And for someday, if down the road, for him to be playing with me, my dream's gonna become true.
The burger's called Le Sheriff, the Sheriff. Would you like to be called the Sheriff?
Yeah, I think it was a nickname I had in junior. It started when I was on Kitchener, and I think it stayed through junior, but then it kind of switched up a little bit here when I made it to the NHL. But I think that's definitely a nickname I liked.